Oh yeah, it's schedule release show. AVP releasing its 2025 schedule just 2 days ago on Monday, January 27th. And as I said on Instagram yesterday, we are here to talk about it. So let's start right there with the phone number 978 254 1707. The phone lines are open. They will be open throughout the show. A lot of opinions online about the 2025 schedule. As always, with everything that the AVP does, they're nothing if not polarizing online, always in the comments. So there's lots of opinions to be had out there, and we want yours. 978-254-1707 is the phone number. I got the chat here, so we're monitoring the chat, monitoring the DMs as well. But the chat, the phone number, the best ways to reach the show. 978-254-1707. Let's get your opinions to the AVP announcing its 2025 schedule. We're going to be wall-to-wall schedule all day, all night. I am pumped for it. So we sat here 1 week ago on the off-season show. Thank you for watching, by the way. And we talked about what would the ideal AVP schedule look like. What boxes do we want them to check? What boxes do we think they could leave unchecked for the 2025 season? So let's start here. The conversation that has been had regarding the AVP when it comes to league versus tournaments. And there's your first peek there at the 2025 schedule. The conversation about tournaments versus leagues. I think we need to leave, I don't want to say leave out of the conversation at this point, but I don't think it needs to be a focal point of the conversation anymore. Now that we've moved into year number 2 of the league, we've gotten assurances from the players, from the management, that this is something that they are committed to, that they are invested in, that 2024 wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just trying something, throwing something against the wall. They're committed to this idea of the league. So I think if you're a beach volleyball fan, let's start there. They're committed to trying something with a product that has historically failed chronically. Every 10 to 15 years, a bankruptcy, a new ownership, bootstrapping up of the system, and then we end up getting back to where we were. And it's happened cyclically 3 times, really 2 bankruptcies, but really 3 cycles of build, grow, fail. So starting there, when you have a new management group come in, is it surprising to see them change something? No. We talked about all this. So I'm getting sucked right back into it. I'm getting sucked back into the league versus tournaments. But the spark notes of that conversation and how it relates to now us looking at the schedule for 2025 is as such. The tournament-based system had not been working. The new management wanted to try something new. New management is committed to trying that new thing, and now they've shown that in year 2, going back to that same model, the same 8-team concept, the same 8-city concept, and then this year they're going to get to all cities, and we'll get to all 8 cities, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the reason I bring that up is because there's been a lot of, there always is a lot of criticism, comments, all that about the AVP. The AVP previous ownerships have alienated the fan base to a point where the current management couldn't do anything right if they did everything that was asked of them. So that's the first conversation that needs to be had. The AVP is committed towards the league. We're here at Bet the Beach pumped about that because the league allowed us to do a lot of things content-wise that individual one-off tournaments don't really. From just a side content perspective, the league was great for that. The regularity, the predictability. The tournaments are a little less so, a little more challenging to do that kind of thing. Not impossible, but just for us personally, I enjoyed the league. I enjoyed trying something different. Are there parts of it that I'd love to see different? Of course. And are there parts of it I don't think that are possible to make different and make perfect in some ways? I think that too, yes. But as it goes, league versus tournaments, we knew that the AVP was going to commit to this league concept. And I think maybe what happened was where 2024 was a strange year. You had the Olympics in the middle of the summer that really is a hard stop point for the sport. And it'd be really hard for them to kind of split that with their league, so they ended up going into the second half of the league. They qualified in the first half of the league in year number 1, but they still had 3. We used to call them Gold Series tournaments. Last year we started calling them Heritage Series tournaments. And we had one in Huntington at the beginning of the year. We had the Manhattan Beach Open the second weekend in August, where it always is. And we had Chicago, the tournament, Heritage Series tournament at Oak Street Beach. Labor Day weekend, the final tournament of the year, which then led directly into the league. So I think that may have been a soft way for the AVP to introduce, we really are going away from these tournaments. They haven't said that. They went from 3 tournaments last year to only 2 Heritage Series tournaments this year. And let's look at the schedule right now. So this is your schedule as released. Very elegant, clean look to the schedule, by the way. Really enjoyed the presentation. Great imaging by the AVP. The whole post was excellent. You had Taylor Sander on the left side. You had Haley Harward on the right side. Takes you whole through the entire layer. In blue there are your Heritage Series events. Those are your tournaments. And a large, to close the loop on how I'm starting this show here tonight when it comes to leagues versus tournaments, the blue is dwindling. And we went from 3 last year to 2 this year, and we lost the Chicago Heritage Series Open Tournament on the sands of Oak Street Beach. If you've been following my content since I started here about a year and a half ago, you know what a fan I am of that particular tournament. It's the only Gold Series tournament that I've been to so far, so admittedly a little impartial. But like I said last week, love the city, love the community, love that spot. I thought that was an awesome nightcap, I guess, to your summer. That has gone away in this new schedule. Chicago will now be the home of the AVP League Championship, August 30 and 31st. That is Labor Day weekend. So Chicago still does get really the premier event of the season, Manhattan Beach accepted from that conversation always. Manhattan's always going to be on a level of its own, and it's why every bit of blue from this calendar may eventually go away over the next few years. You're still going to have that spot Manhattan Beach Open because the AVP knows that it is their Masters, as I said last week. It is their Wimbledon. AVP knows that. And Manhattan Beach is not going to go away, but the blue is dwindling, and we lost another piece of the blue, a piece near and dear to my heart, and I'm accepting it at the moment in the concept and idea of progress because I do have a lot of faith in this management that they're committed to this plan. Do I know if it's going to work or not? Of course not. But I do know that this management is singularly committed to this plan. They've shown that. They've shown here with this schedule, which we're about to go through, that they are looking to create a consistent thing from year to year that becomes predictable year after year after year, and you're going to grow it slowly from there. So I'm all in this management group. I believe in what they're trying to do. I don't know if it's going to work, but I say all that to say Chicago, the tournament's gone. It was always going to be tough to have 2 standalone tournaments, the second to last week and really the last official week of summer in Manhattan and then Chicago, and somehow work an entire league within a summer season that really comes to its ultimate climax in the end of August and the last week in August or the first week in September. So that always was going to be a structural problem the AVP was going to face. They, as I said, they can't and they won't and they wouldn't and they shouldn't do anything about the Manhattan Beach Open. That's just something that you keep as your separate special thing. So they got to work around that. What I think they found right away as they tried to plan their first attempt at a summer schedule was that having Manhattan weekend off, Chicago to end the year as tournaments separate from your league, which you're going to try to run in that summer, was not a feasible concept. So I think that is the space that I'm willing to give the AVP there, and then they're going to give Chicago the bone of having the tournament, the championships there. Now, a question was posed to me about where that would be. My assumption would be that they would want to put that indoors somewhere where they can sell tickets, have an arena like they did in year number 1. And that's going to be a conversation that we don't need to have today. We don't know the venues for these locations. But I think over the course of the next few weeks of the off-season show, it's something we should talk about too. And it's indoor beach volleyball versus outdoor beach volleyball. Do you lose something there? How much do you lose? How much is it worth? And how do we fix what is that inherent problem of trying to make money? While running a while running a sport on a public beach. Very challenging. So if AVP wants to go ahead and run the AVP League Championships on Oak Street Beach, I wouldn't say no to that. But I do understand what they're trying to do there. And a championship should be in a stadium, should have a stadium feel. Maybe there's an outdoor, like a tennis stadium in Chicago. I'll do some Googling on that. Get back to you. But this is the schedule. As I said, 2 Heritage Series events, tournaments, Huntington Beach Open and Manhattan Beach Open. 8 League Week events. Those are highlighted in yellow with the final, the 9th larger one on your bottom right there. That's your Chicago AVP League Championships we just talked about. They're going to start the league season in Palm Beach. They're also going to run a contender series in Palm Beach in parallel with League Week 1. San Diego Week 2, Miami Week 3. They're going to New York City. They're coming to the East Coast, baby. Finally. We got some beach volleyball on the East Coast. I think some of you, if you've been following along with the show, know that I really, my first AVP match that I watched was the Waikiki Finals in Hawaii 2019. The AVP had played a tournament in New York City in 2019 that I was blissfully unaware of at the time. And ever since then, have not returned to the East Coast any closer than Virginia Beach with the contender level event. We don't consider Fort Lauderdale, Miami, the East Coast if you're from the Northeast. But I guess it is East Coast. Maybe I should say Northeast. I'll classify it as had not been to the Northeast. They will be coming back to the Northeast. Love to see it. New York, League Week 4, June 21st and 22nd. One thing to note there, too, they are doing Friday and Saturday nights for all these. I think from what I've heard, the TV deal had something to do with that, and I think it's a great move for the AVP going Friday night, Saturday night. I do think, at least in the short term, being a night sport is a cool concept to add to the league. Also good for ratings, obviously. And then League Week 5, Los Angeles. League Week 6 back in New York. League Week 7 in Austin. League Week 8 in Dallas. So they have the 8 cities, 8 weeks, and they are traveling to each of the 8 cities, which was one of our biggest questions looking into year number 2 of the league. Last year they didn't make it to New York. If you're going to you're going to lean on this city-to-city geographical concept. You need to play in the cities that your teams are representing. So I think that's a huge move for the AVP to get to New York City twice. I got a question in the chat about the contender level events. So if you've been watching the AVP for a while, contender level event is basically, in effect, a tour series event. So it's a smaller prize pool. Usually you don't get your tip-top level of competition on the contender level events, although the AVP did add to the prize purse a little bit last year, which enticed some of your top-level talent. Taylor and Taylor, I believe, played in Denver, I want to say, last year. Last year they ran Wapaka, Denver, Virginia Beach. So they went from 3 contenders to 4. So it's a lower level, smaller prize pool. You don't often get your top-tier talent, largely because of that, lower prize pool. But it's really the proving ground. It's the AAA affiliate, for lack of a better term, if you want to use a baseball comparison. Contender level is the lower level tournaments. Heritage Series are that upper level tournament. And those contender level series events, and it's a great question. Thank you. I hope I answered your question there. The league concept, as it stands now, is 8 teams per gender, 8 men, 8 women. That does not leave a lot of opportunities and a lot of space to grow your sport and continue to, for lack of a better term, getting this pot boiling and getting the cream rising to the top here. You need somewhere to put that talent to keep them going, to keep developing them, to fill the spots, like we'll talk about here in a minute here as we start turning our attention towards qualification for AVP League year number 2. Is you're going to have a big pool of people looking for a couple of small spots, and the people that don't get those spots, you want these players to be professional players that can make a living playing beach volleyball. They're going to play on the international tour in both Challenge and Elite 16 events, and they're going to make some money there. You want to give them an opportunity to continue their dreams of playing professionally so that when they get to the point where they can get over that threshold and be a top 18 that makes it into this league that the AVP is clearly moving towards, until they had the opportunity to expand, which I think is probably still a few years down the way. Cost thing, I think, for the AVP. They're looking to kind of stabilize this before they start to grow it. So these contender level events, if you're familiar with the Beach Pro Tour, the equivalent of like a challenge event, challenge versus Elite 16, you have contenders versus heritage on the AVP Tour. So as it relates to contender level events, they're coming to Palm Beach. One of the hopes, dreams, aspirations that we had for year number 2 schedule was bring volleyball back to a couple of spots, Hermosa and New Orleans. And I was disappointed not to see one of the contender events get located in New Orleans. I thought that might be a good opportunity there. Palm Beach is already getting a league week, so it would make sense to me maybe to give that to New Orleans. And that's not what happened, but again, I think that's probably a cost thing. I imagine it's probably a lot cheaper to run 2 tournaments in the same city in the same weekend versus it is 2 different cities, which the AVP will do later in the season. July 11th, they'll be in both Wapaka, Wisconsin at the boat race, as well as League Week number 5 in Los Angeles. So the AVP didn't get back to New Orleans. A lot of comments in the chat or in the Instagram comments to AVP's announcement. The AVP is not going back to Hermosa. And when it didn't happen in 2024, it got explained off as a scheduling issue. The AVP needed to do it in a certain window. The city of Hermosa couldn't do it within that window. And the two sides left the table, parted ways. The thinking was that you get away from an Olympic year, the summer frees up a little bit, and the AVP would return to Hermosa, a spot where, as we've talked about, a large majority of these players live within a couple miles of Hermosa Beach. Hotbed for domestic beach volleyball is Hermosa Beach. AVP not getting back to Hermosa this year, which I was a little surprised about. But it's another reflection of that, another step away from the old system and a step towards the new system, which is always going to cause pain, hiccups, tears, and some heartburn for sure for a lot of people. So am I disappointed to see AVP not playing in New Orleans and not playing in Hermosa? I am. But once you accept the fact that we are moving progressively, step by step, towards this league format, and the tournaments are not, your high-level tournaments are not the emphasis anymore, you understand why those decisions have to get made. So the 4 contender-level events, Palm Beach, Virginia Beach, Denver, and Wapaka. Now, let's talk a little bit of qualification, shall we? So the AVP did not, in their post, specifically address qualification. Clearly intentional, because they did send an email out to their players. Now, I will say this, if the management of the AVP is listening, you got some good tight-lipped players there. Because I, over the last few days, have been scratching and clawing at a few of my contacts, just trying to get my hands on that email or get an idea of some of the specifics that the players were given that us and the general public did not have. So credit to the players, credit to the AVP for having a tight-lipped system there. I wasn't able to wrestle my hands specifically on the email that has some information about how league qualification is going to happen. But we have learned a few small little bits. We go to the comments from AVP's post about the schedule. Instagram user Shane_strike65. How did teams qualify for a league without tournaments? Which was a good question and something that the AVP hadn't yet addressed, and to my knowledge at this point has not yet publicly addressed. AVP Ambassador of the Year in 2024, the inaugural award to Troy Field, one of my favorites on the tour, responding to that, confirming something that I had heard in a couple other spots, some whispers that I wasn't going to necessarily go public with today until I got a second source, and I'm considering this a pretty solid second source. Troy Field saying publicly in the Instagram comment, there are 2 qualifiers in April, and the Heritage event in Huntington counts as well. This was confirmed by Tyler Penberthy on Instagram in the same comment thread. 2 qualifying events in April and a Heritage Series event in Huntington. Now, I have heard whispers of the specifics of those first 2 tournaments. I have not yet been able to confirm them, so not going to go down that road just yet. I'm hoping by next week to get that confirmed for you. I'm working on a couple of sources to get some specifics on what those events are going to look like, those first 2 events. But from what we think we know, April 12th and April 26th are the days. We think we know that they're going to be on Huntington Beach as well. And that is all we have, at least 2 sourced at the moment as far as those qualifying events. Stay tuned and just kind of stick around on our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and all that. If I do confirm that before next Wednesday in the off-season show, I'll get it up on the socials so I can get you an update on some specifics, because I think everybody here is going to start to turn our attention towards the league qualification, because league, based on that schedule that we just had up there, league starting May 23rd. So league starting pre-Memorial Day. Huntington Beach Open's May 10th and 11th. So that's the 3rd qualifying event for the league. 2 weeks later, Palm Beach, you're in the AVP league. So we're going to be looking very closely at those qualifying events for the league, the 3 qualifying events. So as soon as I get some more details on that, I will certainly pass them along. A couple other things that we are hearing about qualification. I've heard whispers of this all along. We've actually speculated on it too. Not fully confirmed yet, but it does sound like top 4 teams from 2024 from the AVP League will get an automatic bid into the league if they're staying together as a partnership. Now, what does that mean? Who does that qualify? You got San Diego Smash, Dallas Dream, Miami Mayhem, and the New York Nitro were your 4 championship teams for 2024. So on the men's side, 3 of those 4 teams, to our knowledge, are staying together. That includes Taylor Crabb and Taylor Sander. Taylor Crabb confirming on Instagram earlier today, yesterday actually, that him and Taylor Sander are going to be playing again together in the AVP in 2025. That would mean that they have an automatic bid into the league, so Taylor and Taylor are in. There was some question about Taylor Sander. He went to play indoor, I believe, in Thailand or Indonesia, maybe, one or the other. One or the other. Lost my train of thought there for a minute. But there was some question on if he had gone back to indoor fully. He's gone back to indoor for the winter. He will be playing with Taylor Crabb in 2025 on the AVP. All signs pointing to Miles Partain and Andy Benner staying together. From what I've seen from their practice videos and content they've been putting out in the offseason, they'll be together. And Chase Buttinger and Miles Evans, same could be said for them. I've seen a lot of videos of them practicing together, so I would assume that they would be staying together for the 2025 season. And it makes sense, too. You get an automatic bid into a league that you get paid to participate in. It's a non-Olympic year. You're 2 years away from an Olympic year. So where if we were in 2026 even, a year away from qualification window opening, you might expect a team that might stay together for the league to break up just so you can get additional reps with a partner that you're looking at making an Olympic push in 2028 for. You don't have that case in 2025. So similarly to the 2 men's teams that I just said there, why would you split up? You got an auto bid into the league. Then I don't think they would split up anyways. Doesn't seem like there's any whispers of that. On the women's side, Gina and Tony. Some question about where Tony's going to eventually go for a partner for 2028, as Gina Urango, at least in the past, historically has not played internationally. But I would expect the 2 of them to play together again in 2025, again, because that automatic bid, it's too valuable to pass up. Same can be said for Haley Harward and Kylie DeBerg. A note on Haley Harward, on the post from the AVP on Instagram, you get Taylor Sander on one side, you get Haley Harward on the other side. Is it a coincidence that you have 2 eligible automatic bids between Taylor Sander and Haley Harward and the AVP using them on their poster. Maybe that conversation's already happened. Speculation, but informed speculation. The big question on the women's side is Kelly Cheng. So, Sarah Hughes on Instagram a couple of days ago posting this picture, her in a boot, some sort of left leg injury, but she said 2025 started off with a challenge. As much as I wish this injury did not happen, I'm choosing to remain positive and push through all the adversity. Look forward to coming back better and stronger than ever before. So Sarah Hughes out, and from the looks of it, out for a while. So Kelly Cheng, where does she go for a partner early season 2025? And the question is, she technically, her and Sarah qualifies for an automatic bid, and they would be staying together if it wasn't for an injury. Does the AVP give an allowance and give Kelly the automatic bid with a partner of her choice? So Kelly really gets to pull somebody into the league that may not technically qualify for it. It'll be interesting to see how the AVP is going to handle that. If they stick to the letter of the law, which again we haven't seen yet, this is reports about league qualification. Then does she have to requalify with her new partner for 2025? April and Alex retired. Trevor and Theo already said goodbye. So you really, on both men's and the women's side, have three teams that already have automatic bids if they want them, and I would expect all three of them on both sides to want them. If Kelly is forced to requalify, then you have two auto bids on the women's side, and you have 6 spots available. So that really is a look at the schedule. Oh, one thing I wanted to say. I think this is important too. To people that are, there's been a lot of complaints about the AVP not getting to Hermosa, about the Chicago going away. I saw some complaints online, and I got a couple of these in my DMs as well, about how the Manhattan Beach 6-man is a conflict the first week in August with AVP League Austin. So that's week 7 there on your calendar right there, August 1st and 2nd. Apparently the Manhattan Beach 6-man is that weekend. So I'll say this about what the AVP has pulled off here. When we were looking at the calendar a week ago and looking at the best way for the AVP to kind of navigate its 2025 calendar, we talked a bit about potential conflicts with the Beach Pro Tour. And there's a couple of schools of thought here about whether, as an organization, if you want to focus on yourself or if you want to focus on your competition, the market, and all that. And I think there are benefits and drawbacks to both ways of looking at it. An example being, the AVP moved its schedule to this away from the fall because the NFL is in the fall and because college football is in the fall. And I don't think there's a bigger reason than that. As it's been called many times, the attention economy for anybody in the United States, but specifically sports fans, is competitive, incredibly competitive. And if you're a young sport that's trying to grow, gather new fans, get a new casual fan base, competing with the behemoth that is the NFL didn't make any sense. And the AVP knew that. And the AVP said wisely, we're going to move to the summer. Beach volleyball is a summer sport anyways. We're going to avoid the NFL. This schedule that you see here ends. Beach volleyball domestically is done August 31st. The first weekend of NFL football first game is Friday, September 5th. The first NFL Sunday is Friday, September 7th. So the AVP is getting out 1 week before the NFL season starts. So that being said, the AVP now has, if they're going to stay away from football, they had that hard stop there where they put it in Chicago, which again is another part of the reason why the tournament, I think, had to go away, because you need, just timing-wise, you're getting crammed here. And that's what we're going to get to. The Beach Pro Tour came out with its calendar like a month or two before, probably about a month ago, maybe mid-December-ish, I would say, probably after the Beach Pro Tour finals. And the Beach Pro Tour had events in March, had events in April, had 2 events in May. So the 2 events in May, a challenge event in Xiamen, China, the weekend of the 17th, and then an Elite 16 in Ostrava, starting on May 28th. What did the AVP do? Well, we want to get our league started a little bit early. We're going to schedule 2 events in May, but we're going to avoid those 2 events. They start in the 10th at Huntington. They skip the Jamen Challenge, and they go to week 1, Palm Beach, May 23rd and 24th. They also did the Contender, Palm Beach, as you see right there, 24th and 25th. So the AVP now has avoided both conflicts with the Beach Pro Tour, so it's players that you're relying on to be your product, the product that you're selling, have an opportunity to go and make money for themselves separately, and you're not conflicting or inhibiting their ability to do that. Smart. Very, very smart, in my opinion. Then the Beach Pro Tour has 4 weeks off in June between Ostrava in the end of May and Stad, which is that July 4th weekend always. 4 weeks in June, AVP took all of them. They took San Diego, Miami, New York, and then Virginia Beach Contender event the weekend of June 28th. Stad, they did put a little bit of a conflict there with AVP Denver, Contender. But the thinking there is that your Elite 16 level athletes aren't going to be playing in a Contender, so there really isn't a conflict. All you're conflicting for is eyes, really, at that point. And that's July 4th weekend, so that's a tough weekend to get eyeballs anyways, from a television ratings perspective. Then the Beach Pro Tour takes off 6 consecutive weekends before getting back to international play in the end of August, the weekend of the 23rd, in Star Jablonki Challenge in Poland, followed up by an Elite 16 in Hamburg. So the Beach Pro Tour gives the AVP 6 consecutive weekends between Stad and Star Jablonki to work with. AVP schedules 5 of them, all but the weekend of July 26th, only weekend they didn't touch there. So the AVP then doesn't conflict with Star Jablonki, and then does have its biggest conflict of the year with the Beach Pro Tour, biggest and really only, excepting the Denver, which I wouldn't call a conflict anyways, as we talked about. The Elite 16 in Hamburg, Germany, conflicting with league champs. So your top 4 teams that qualify for your AVP League championships in Chicago, August 30th and 31st, unable to go to an Elite 16 in Hamburg. So that really shows you the postage stamp size that the AVP had to land this plane on. They had a hard stop with the NFL season on September 5th. They had a Beach Pro Tour calendar that has 8, 10 events in the window that we're talking about here that the AVP has very craftily navigated around. So when you get a comment like, well, you conflicted with Manhattan Beach 6-man, stupid. It's like, okay, that's fine, but I think you may be missing the bigger picture there. And I think the bigger picture is that the AVP needs to be conscious of the people that it doesn't want to compete with, and then it has to be itself. And I think in that situation there, that's the AVP being itself, not worried about a Manhattan Beach 6-man, and I think it's a smart move for the AVP, and it's really the only opportunity, it's the only move that they had. You only have so much real estate there with which to land the schedule, and I think all that considered, the AVP did a pretty damn good job of putting this thing together. So we get 2 contender, going back, we got 4 contender events, we got 2 Heritage Series events, we got our 8 league weeks, and we have our championship. We lose the tournament in Chicago, but we get the championships in Chicago. We go from 3 contender events in 2024 to 4 contender events. We go from 3 Heritage Series down to 2. Again, goodbye, Chicago. We got a qualification, some sort of qualification in April. We're thinking April 12th and April 26th, and then the Huntington Beach Open. 3 events with which to qualify up to 5 to 6 teams, not including the automatic bids that we already talked about. What does this all mean as far as the schedule goes? I put together a combined Pro Tour AVP calendar earlier this week on Instagram. If you're interested, shoot me a DM. I can send you a printable version of that, as many of you already have. I got a printable version of this, 8.5 by 11. If you're old school like me and like to print it out, hold it in your hand, refer to it, right there. That's your printable calendar. Shoot me a DM. I'll send it to you. Or you can go to betthebeach.com. The latest blog post has a link, download link. betthebeach.com. Give me a click there. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you would too. The channel, the video, and give us a follow on all the social media platforms. But a final recap of what we got here when it comes to a combined beach volleyball calendar. 23 of 28 weekends from mid-March to end of September, we got beach volleyball. 23 of 28. If you want to add in the those additional qualifiers that we have unconfirmed yet for the AVP, that's 24 of 28. Only 4 weekends in a 7-month stretch that we don't have beach volleyball. From May 10th to Labor Day weekend, 16 of 17 weekends we have high-level beach volleyball, be it on the AVP or on the international tour, be it a challenger, an Elite 16, be it a contender, a heritage series, or league event on the AVP. So really that's the story. That's the schedule. And we are excited. I mean, we are excited. Volleyball back in the Northeast in New York City. Hell yeah. Yeah, I think you get a ton of good beach volleyball there. The AVP League Championships in Chicago is something I'm going to keep my eye on, because that could be a cool event. You hear of championships taking place in the same place, every year, and it becoming a big event. Specifically, like in NCAA women's beach volleyball, Gulf Shores, they were gonna be in Huntington. This is actually news as of earlier today. They've officially moved the NCAA beach volleyball tournament back to Gulf Shores. I think the article that I read cited concerns with the fires in California as part of the reason. Huntington's on the northern side of LA there. Or it's like Omaha when it comes to, I think it's the NCAA baseball or softball. I'm not really sure, but you hear about it. It goes to show. Don't watch a second of the sport, and I know that one of those is played in Omaha. So could Chicago be that? Could Chicago become that AVP League Championships that becomes an event to go see? Play it on Oak Street Beach, AVP. Come on. Let's look for a tennis stadium. That's what we're going to do. Before next show, I'm going to look for a tennis stadium in Chicago where we can at least get some outdoor beach volleyball Labor Day weekend for the AVP League Championships. And then I'll reach out to my guys at the AVP and I'll connect them. I'll make the connect. I'll make the meetup. Again, looking to confirm some more specifics on those 2 qualifying events, but we got our eyes locked and loaded on those 3 qualifying events. Huntington Beach Open's going to be huge. And then what do their 2 events look like? Only 3 opportunities now in a hotly contested field. We'll talk more about that next week too. But you guys, if we're going to say there's 3 teams qualifying out of 8 automatically before we even step on the sand in Huntington, be it on April 12th or May 10th, so it's only 5 spots for on the men's side, 5 spots for 7 or 8 great teams. And on the women's side, it's 5 spots for, anywhere between 10 and 12. So we're going to start putting some odds together for odds to qualify for the league. I'd like to get a little bit more information on what that qualifying looks like before we put those odds together. And then we're going to start looking at some partners. We got some whispers. Working to confirm a couple of little things before we go with it. But we got some partner stuff we want to talk about. So we'll probably do that next week on the off-season show, maybe some more schedule talk here. But we got a schedule, everybody. We have a schedule for the 2025 beach volleyball season, and boy, is it beautiful. That's it. That's all we got to talk about here tonight. I want to thank you for joining me. Thanks to everybody in the chat there for hopping on and hanging out and talking some beach volleyball. Coming up next Wednesday on the off-season show, more beach volleyball talk. Like I said, I think we'll do a little partner stuff, but we'll get to all that here in a week. For now, I leave you. Have a good night, a pleasant tomorrow, and we'll see you next week on the off-season show.
Wake up, sunshine, let's go play. Beach volleyball is the way. Sand in my toes, sky so blue. Fun in the sun, just me and you. Bounce on the beach, set the ball high. Smiles all around and we reach for the sky. Surfs up and laughter's in the breeze. Join the podcast if you please. Have an in, watch us fly. Under the sun we feel so high. Spike and surf, hear the cheer. Every day is summer here. Wake up sunshine, let's go play. Beach volleyball is the way. Sand in my toes, sky so blue. Fun in the sun, just me and you. Bounce on the beach, set the ball high. Smiles all around when we reach for the sky. Surfs up and laughter's in the breeze. Join the podcast if you please. Dive and dig, watch us fly. Under the sun we feel so high. Spike and surf, hear the cheer. Every day is summer here. Dive and dig, watch us fly. Under the sun we feel so high. Spike and surf, hear the cheer. Every day is summer here.